Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Tuesday morning Mortgage Coach sales call. Every Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock Pacific, we're here to connect as a community, and we are absolutely dedicated to your personal and your professional success. Think of this call as just a sales meeting. Our goal is just to deliver a great sales meeting where we share ideas and share strategies and share success stories about what's working and how to be more successful. So, the Mortgage Coach values, I repeat it every week just because I think it's so important to come to every call focused on what can we learn that will help us wow both our realtors and our buyers, surpass their expectations. The Mortgage Coach, we're dedicated to doing that through education, being teachers, being leaders, being educators, and always delivering just a level of excellence, absolute excellence. So today I've got a great personal friend, someone that I've known for decades, feels like my entire adult life in the mortgage industry. I've known Scott Cummings. Scott, I don't even know how many times I've had you as a guest, how many times we've shared the stage, but it's good to have you, brother.
Thanks, man. We're looking forward to sharing about how to create these high-impact presentations for our realtors and business professionals today.
Well, I'm looking forward to you're always innovating, and you're always at the top of the game when it comes to delivering advice and information. So we're gonna focus what Scott's doing, kind of a realtor focus, although we'll always talk about how he's giving advice to borrowers, but how he's taking that value proposition and having high-value conversations, high-value presentations with realtors. So, hey, Scott, I'm going to do some follow-up from last week, but feel free to jump in, add some color, or just add on to whatever I'm throwing in here.
Sure, go right ahead.
All right. So let's start with a post from the Chrisman on Saturday. I don't know how many people on this call read Rob Chrisman's daily newsletter. Scott, by the way, do you read that at all? I
do. Yeah, it's very insightful.
Did you notice the little rift going on between Kristen and a loan officer from last week? Did you catch that?
I didn't.
So someone from a week ago, a loan officer came in and was really trying to make the case that, I don't want to overplay their position, but just, sales in the mortgage business is a relationship game, and technology is secondary. And, my message is there's no doubt you can be very successful as a loan officer and not leverage technology. But I also think there's no doubt you can be better and you can be your best if you do leverage technology. So Kristen was just making the point, and I love the way she did it. Technology is the new language for millions of consumers. If you were speaking to someone who speaks Spanish and you want to provide them information, you do it in Spanish. And today's consumers speak digital, and I would even go as far as speak digital on mobile. So we need to speak their language. And so, ultimately technology is about moving the relationship and to improving the relationship through proper communication. So, knowing how many consumers are leveraging their mobile devices, if you're a loan officer and you want to deliver information, deliver it where they're doing life, in the speed of life. So I think Mortgage Coach just aligns well with this. Also, I want to remind everybody, if you're on this call and you have not watched this quick, minute and a half hit around, what's happening with the new CFPB requirements that are hitting in August, everybody's going to have to start quoting loans and showing the cost of the loan over 5 years. And delivering mortgage advice at the point of sale is getting more complicated, which is an advantage for loan officers that are teachers and educators, and especially an advantage for mortgage coaches. So if you haven't watched this video, it's just a quick 90-second video. Make sure you watch it. Make sure you share it with everybody on your team so everybody's in the loop that we've got to deliver a more educational sales experience at the point of sale, and we need to show every consumer the cost of that loan over 60 months. That's no longer just a good idea and a belief of Mortgage Coach. It's a requirement. So, this was another, quote that I pulled out of Christman's report. When you look at the disclosures that people get, it's either too much information or it's just above their head. But when you're using technology to give that information in plain language, and again, Kristen makes the point in their native language, digital, you're not only is it a sales advantage, it's not only is it the right way to do things, it's a competitive sales advantage. So, Scott, before I move on to some takeaways from Hunter, my call with Hunter last week, anything you want to add on to this?
No, you're hitting, right where we need to be, and we all live on technology. I mean, think about even when we're watching TV or a movie, last night my wife and daughter and I were watching a movie, and everyone's on their mobile device and watching the TV or a movie. And so it's just where we live. You're at dinner, you're out. And so having the technology that they can utilize in a way that, as you said, where they live is significant.
Yeah, makes a difference, especially with realtors. So if you missed last week's call with Hunter, I highly recommend that you watch it. It was price to advice with Hunter. And I think the takeaway I wanted to bring in today's call is he just kept talking about how important structure, accountability, and leadership are. And as I re-listened to the call and created takeaways, I just asked everybody to go through your current systems of business, how you're delivering value to realtors, how you're delivering value to consumers, what's your structure, what accountability do you have for yourself to make sure that you're executing, and are you bringing leadership to your customers and to the team that surrounds you. So if you missed that call, check it out. And then I added some mortgage coach piece to it, because I think when you really look at the 4 foundations of success, for every time I've interviewed a great originator, they've had structure and systems. They've been leaders and teachers. They have coaches and accountability around them, and communication is king. The way they are communicating, the systems that they have to communicate with realtors and customers, it's better than the rest. So those are the 3 paradigms of success. And with that said, Scott, let's bring you into conversation. For anybody that has not, heard you before, if you could just share what market you're in, a little bit about your mortgage practice, and then let's set up what we're going to talk about today.
Sure. Yeah. I've been an originator for over 20 years. I am in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Native New Mexican, absolutely love it here. Wonderful culture. I fly hot air balloons, gas balloons, do all kinds of fun whitewater kayaking, mountain biking. So the Southwest is just a wonderful place to be. Our business, we've done this a long time. I've used Mortgage Coach, I believe, since you created it in like 97, 98, when we had our mastermind group we formed together. So I've been around it through all of the kind of upgrades and add-ons, and now with this cool technology piece, and we absolutely love it. It's helped us close hundreds and hundreds of loans, and I believe, as we're going to talk about today, it is one piece of technology. I believe in my business it's probably the most important piece of technology today.
Beautiful, beautiful. So one of the things that distinguishes Scott, and Scott,
hey, you're cutting into my speech there, buddy.
I know. It's part of my introduction.
I got it.
Because this is just something that always distinguishes Scott from so many loan officers. When you look at the amount of success stories, testimonials, people that just say thank you, it's truly astounding. And I've actually had these books on my lap, and I've gone through them, and these are just heartfelt letters from families that took time to just say thank you. So I think that that speaks volumes to the types of to the quality of your service. Anybody that has over 1,000 thank you letters to me is a special kind of loan officer. So sorry for stealing from your presentation a little bit there, but I just think it's so valuable, so important. Let's. I know you've got some slides to share, and I know you're going to walk us through how every mortgage coach loan officer can just up the game and deliver, high impact presentations. So why don't you frame what a high impact conversation is, and then walk us through your slides.
Sure, let's do it. When I think about high impact presentation, I believe it's the impact we have on the person we're meeting with, and that could be a client, a potential borrower. But what we're going to really drill down and talk about today is high impact presentations when we're meeting with realtors, builders, CPAs, financial planners, et cetera. How do we create high impact? How do we create a distinguishing difference between us and the competition? And I think that is absolutely critical for us to think about today and go over. And so, unfortunately, I can't see my slide on the bottom here to advance my slide. There we go. So what I wanted to talk about today is really, let's start with anytime I believe when we go to an event, we're looking to purchase a product like Mortgage Coach, or we wanting to make a change in our business. I believe it is absolutely critical that we start with what is the benefit? Because I think all of us are asking, even if you're on this call today, which thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to spend time with Dave and I. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be a guest on the call. And the biggest thing I always want to convey as an originator is I'm no one special. I'm no superstar. I'm no mega anything. I'm just a guy who's been on the street every day for over 20 years, originating loans and really committed to educating and empowering people, making a difference in people's lives. So the great thing when I get the opportunity to come on and share, it's such a blessing because we're just living this every day, and I love sharing with other people that are trying to build their practice every day just like we are. So let's start with benefits. Why would we do this? Why would we change our sales presentation? And the number one thing, when I am on speaking on Mortgage Coach, I know I've said it on many calls, or if I'm blessed to go speak somewhere to an audience of people, one of the things that is at the core of when I speak to people is I believe we have to stop selling and we have to start making a difference. Because selling implies that we're only in it for us. I believe if we focus on making a difference, it becomes a client-focused discussion, a client-focused conversation. And selling, I believe, is the wrong motive. And I should have taken a picture of this. When I started in this business, my very first year, I've got a 3x5 card. And on that 3x5 card, and it cracks me up because it's really, really old. I'd hate to tell you how old the card is, but it's in red ink, and it says, in bold red ink, so it must have been really important to me. It says, am I more concerned with getting what I want? And I put a big or am I more concerned with helping others get what they want? And that's really what I've built my practice on. We've been so blessed, as Dave said, I think we have somewhere, I believe it's around 1,300 thank you notes, cards, and letters from clients. It's all about let's make a difference in their lives. And so I want you to think today, when you're speaking to people, how are you coming across? The next point says have a different conversation. And one of the things I challenge myself on, and I want to challenge everyone on this call on, is when we're speaking to people, do we sound any different than the competition, right? And so if a consumer called 20 different loan officers, or if 20 different loan officers went and called on the same realtor, would that realtor listen to us and go, oh my gosh, this is a different way of speaking. This is a different way of running a business. This is a different way of helping people. And so I want you to think today, how do we have a different conversation? I'm not a big script guy. I don't have any scripts for you, but I just want you to start thinking about how are you presenting yourself. And we're going to drill down on that a little later, but that is a critical component of our time together today is we have to sound different than the other 20 loan officers calling on the same realtor or financial professional. So how do we do that? One of the things I think we have to do is we have to start thinking about client-focused planning. Today we're talking about high-impact presentations. And so even if I go to make a presentation to a realtor, a builder, or a financial professional, I want to be sure that I'm conveying what I'm doing for clients. How am I doing planning? And I want to talk about their goals, right? And when I'm meeting with a financial professional, let's say, or a realtor, I want to ask them, how do you do planning in your practice? What does that look like? What do you say? So that's another really critical thing today we're going to be talking about in just a minute, is client-focused planning on their goals to helping their client and their client's goals. The other thing that I want to spend some time talking about today is this idea of educate and empower to help people make an informed decision. That has been part of my vocabulary, my why with clients for many, many, many years. And I believe clients, they want the facts, they want the figures, they want someone to come alongside them and say, here's the data, let me present it in an understandable, easy to understand format that we can help you make a decision, right? They don't need to be told anything. They need to be given the data so they feel really comfortable about the decision that we're going to make. And so we're going to talk about that today in the context of meeting with, as I said, realtors and financial professionals. We can talk about it also and how they're helping clients and our commitment to helping clients. Because many of these, I believe in my practice, many of the CPAs and realtors and financial planners and people that I deal with, they share that same commitment and that same passion to making a difference in their clients' lives. So I love aligning with people that have this education and empowerment at the core of how they build their practice. That is so critical. The other thing that I believe all of this is going to do, and this is kind of the series that Dave's been running, I'm kind of tying on his wording here, is transitioning from price to advice. I think the biggest transformational thing anyone can do is to move from rates, I'm quicker, I'm faster, I'm cheaper, to really slowing down and meeting with the financial professionals, the realtors, and the clients and saying, look, rate is hugely important. We want to make sure you get a very competitive rate. And more importantly than the competitive rate, we want to make sure that you get a product that meets your individual goals and objectives and your estimated length of home ownership and all of these things that impact what we're doing. Let's start helping financial professionals with what we do and our expertise, lend that to them to help their clients, and let's use the same thought process with our clients. So if we think about here, Dave kind of stole the thunder a little bit, and really, it says, what is the result? I believe running our business, doing our practice the right way, we start to see things like this. Now, this is, as Dave said, this is 20-plus years of this. It is a very long time to gather these letters, and they come in kind of organically. We may send something and say, hey, send us back your thoughts, but it is a blessing to get these back. It is the thing that we are most prideful of or proud of in our practice is people taking the time to send us a card or a note and just say, thank you so much for what you've done in my life. And so I want you to think about this. How does this become a reality in your practice? It may already be, but how do we take it to the next level? We're going to spend some time talking about that today. So let's talk about some ideas here. When we think about high-impact presentations, we think about working with professionals. TCA, as we know, if you're not a mortgage coach user, is total cost analysis. And the total cost analysis is simply a spreadsheet that will compare different options, prices, loan scenarios, loan terms. It is the way that we can help illustrate what we're sharing with a client. And so we think about it, how could we use these and how could we put these into a presentation when we're meeting with these different people listed here? And so when I think about realtors, and you may have thought of this or you may not, but what if you were on an open house tour, you get the packet of the 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 homes, and you come back and you sit down and you think, wow, there's some great agents on there. I really liked a few of them. I'm going to create a total cost analysis, and I'm going to call them back and set up an appointment to say, here's a way that we can help showcase financing, because financing, as we know in our industry, is the driver for home sales. And so it could be doing the listing agents. It could be, when I think of a listing agent, one of the cool things in our practice, we deal with listing agents every day, right? Because when we get the purchase agreement, we need to reach out to that listing agent. When we're reaching out to that listing agent, what if we took the time to go onto their website? Maybe we found one of their listings and said, hey, I'd love to meet with you and show you some ideas. On the listing that I am providing the financing on, did anyone take the time to create some strategic financing options or showcase different ways that this property might be financed? So listing agents are huge. Realtors, rent versus own. There's a lot of things we could put together. This FHA MIP that just changed. How many of us could take the time to show where MIP was and where it is today, create a total cost analysis, write up a little marketing sheet, and send out that they could show people that FHA may be a great, viable, affordable choice. So there's countless options there. When I think of builders, one of the great things we can do with builders is builders typically have different models. They have different options and different upgrades, and all of those options and upgrades are simply expressed as a dollar value to a consumer. What if we could come alongside a builder and say, let's quantify that. Let's show the consumer if they went from Model A to Model B and it's slightly more square footage and more upgrades and it's a $30,000 or $40,000 increase in price, how does that impact home affordability? How does that impact their budget? What about even options of $5,000 or $10,000? How do we have something in the model when people are coming in and maybe touring a builder and they go, oh my gosh, I love Model A. How could we have something they could hand out and say, here's some ideas you may want to look at and different options and scenarios that might help you decide if this is an affordable product for you and you can meet the payment for this thing. So there's many, many, many things we can do with home builders to showcase and create these professional presentations. And how great to circle back to one of these people like a builder and go and do all the research, create some sample mortgage coach analysis, have the technology, and we're going to talk about how to do the presentation, have it printed out so you can see it, and go meet with them and say, look, let me talk about, here's some creative ways to finance the house. And there's so many things that we know that are financing options that many times the consumer's not going to be aware of, many times the builder may not be aware of, that's going to help them and their consumers. When we think of CPAs and financial planners, there's attorneys on here, et cetera, think about how many times a CPA may have a real estate transaction that they're trying to help their client with. Well, the CPA is a tax expert they're not a mortgage expert. And so if you can align yourself and build relationships with the CPAs, the financial planners, the trust attorneys, and they have a client that says, oh my gosh, I'm a downsizing, we're an empty nester, we've got a child, we have a trust, and we want to use some money from the trust, and how do we come up with home affordability so that we can come up with a payment that's affordable for our son, or maybe they need to help aging parents into a smaller property. All of these things that these planners and financial professionals are dealing with, they need a professional resource. They need someone that they can reach out to and say, I need your help. Can you create an analysis? The other way to do it, and I think this was discussed in one of the calls the other day, is think about when we're meeting with a client and we find out that they have a CPA and a financial planner and we're suggesting mortgage options. I think it is a wonderful best practice to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm going to create this spreadsheet analysis for you based on your goals, your objectives, your estimated length of home ownership, and what I would like to do is provide that. Do you have a CPA or financial planner or someone that you're working with that you'd like to run by to make sure that this meets your overall financial goals and objectives? I'd love to reach out. Can I copy them, send them an email? And so we can not only use it to go meet with CPAs and financial planners on our own, trying to set up relationships. I believe we can network with our clients to say, let me provide you a resource and data and information that's going to allow you to make an informed decision. So huge, huge opportunity. Think about educational presentations. Is it, what is it, a civic organization? Is it a group of realtors, builders? Maybe it's a financial literacy class. I have a real cool top financial literacy sites read all over the country and around the world. And what if we were proponents going out to schools and maybe meeting with a high school class and saying, have you ever stopped to understand home ownership? You're going to be thinking about that in a few years, and started teaching financing and mortgages. And there's so many cool aspects that we can use the mortgage coach for in many, many, many different formats that really showcases our expertise. And at the core of all this, as I said earlier, that drives me, let's do things that educate and empower people, and this is the way to do it. So hope that helps you with some ideas. Now let's talk about some other things that we can think about here. When we go out and we have, yeah.
Hey, real quick, I want to jump in. I want to find out how many folks on the call are actually having a mortgage coach conversation with a realtor, where you're integrating the fact that you're a mortgage coach, the way you deliver advice is just better, providing more transparency. I want to know how many of you on the call are doing that right now. And again, I probably should have said, having that conversation with a referral partner, not just a realtor. So say yes if you're doing it. Again, only about 40% of you have voted. Folks, please, I'd love to get 70% of you to at least vote. Be honest, yes or no. Are you doing this right now? Are you having a mortgage coach conversation with your referral partners so they understand that the way you deliver advice, it's more efficient, there's more transparency, it's helping people accomplish their long-term financial goals? Are you doing that, yes or not? 60% of you have voted. So, Scott, any guesses on what percent are going to say yes before I push you out?
No idea. 25.
So not bad. We got over 50% said yes, 53% said yes, 47% said no. So we've got a lot of opportunity to deliver value here.
That's awesome.
I'll let you continue, Scott.
And,
I just wanted to kind of take a pulse check.
Perfect. Let's move into, if we're going to have high impact presentations, I want to drill down a little bit and make sure that when we get the meeting, when we've done the work, right, when we've made the calls, we've given the honor, we've gotten the appointment, we've reached out to the CPA or the financial planner of one of our clients, and we want to introduce ourselves, and we want to go by, or maybe it's a realtor, maybe it's a listing agent on a transaction that you did a great job for, and you reach out to them and say, hopefully I've earned the opportunity to meet with you. I want you to think about some best practices when we get out to that meeting, because that's really the critical moment in time. Because as we started our call today, what did I say? Everyone wants to know what's in it for me. What is the benefit? So when we go meet with these people, they're going to be asking that same thing. And so when we show up and we've got our little tools in hand and mortgage coach and reports and whatever else, information on us and our company, I want us to be sure that we don't sell. Really, it's not about selling. What I believe it is about, if we're going to go out, I believe, and what I want you to think about, and this is what I try and do on every one of these meetings, is I want you to focus on their business, right? learn more about their practice. And this may sound really simple going back over this, but I know I am guilty of jumping the gun and wanting to sell too quickly, and I'm sure you may share that as well. So we have to slow down. We've got to learn more about their business. And it's a business meeting, so it's not about, oh my gosh, you love fly fishing, I love fly fishing. That may be part of it, but I believe we're there to conduct business. Let's be a business professional and focus on them and their business. And if we start to talk about their business, a couple things I want you to focus on or drill down on is ask them, say, boy, you know, what an honor and a privilege it is to meet with you. Tell me a little about your business as you go along. I believe for every one of us, we should find out what is their area of expertise, right? Because if we think about even a CPA, do they do small business? Do they do high net worth? Do they only do tax prep for anyone? We want to find out what is their area of expertise. The other thing I think that is great to ask them is, tell me about your ideal client. When you're building this practice, you know, your financial planning firm, you know, and we're talking about assets under management, you know, who is your ideal client, right? Who do you love working with? And they're going to be like us. They're going to work with everyone, but they may have a niche where they're helping. Is it an educational sector? Is it PhDs, engineers? Is it high net worth individuals? Do they love helping young couples get started? I believe let's find out areas of expertise. What does their ideal client look like? Then the other thing I think we want to move into, one of the things we want to start talking about is how do they educate and empower their clients, right? Because obviously they're building a business, they're building a practice based on clients. And so one of the things I think it's really critical to find out is, tell me about your passion. What is your why for your business, your area of expertise? What drives you, and how are you making a difference in your clients' lives? And as we start to uncover that, one of the things we can then move into is, tell me about the planning tools that you use, right? Because whatever product or service that they offer, we want to know how are they using tools to educate or empower their clients. And so as we do that, now all of a sudden it does become a great segue into talking about us and creating a distinction. We're not there to say, here's a rate sheet, you know, oh my gosh, we're quicker, we're faster, we're cheaper, give me a try, give me a try, give me a try. What we're there to talk about is in our business a little bit, right? And so learn about them, areas of expertise, ideal client, how do they educate and empower clients, and then what planning tools do they use? And maybe get them to show it to you. Some of the financial professionals I meet, they even love that they will take your information and work on putting together a scenario or taxes or financial planning for you. Sometimes that's a great exercise to go through with people that you're building relationship to see how they work. It also creates an opportunity, as we're going to talk in a minute, to bring them to your office and show them how you work.
Hey, Scott, real quick, if you can go back to that slide real quick.
Okay.
So first, I just want to wrap a bow around this from a coaching perspective. You know, what he just unpacked is an incredibly strategic conversation with a referral partner. And some of these questions I know most loan officers don't ask, but I mean, just imagine the power. Whether you're talking to a realtor, whether you're talking to a financial planner, when you ask them, how do you educate and empower your customers? You know, one, they may not have a good answer, and you learn something. They may have an incredible answer, and now you're able to align. But I mean, you know, Scott just unpacked some pretty unique questions. I mean, you know, what's your area of expertise? I mean, I do think that most loan officers are asking that. I don't think most loan officers are necessarily asking who is your ideal customer or client. You know, what's your target customer? So I love this, Scott. I think it's valuable. I would love to shout out to the community. First of all, in the Q&A section of the GoToMeeting, if there's some other questions that you're asking that you just think are real cornerstone to a referral partner conversation, please post those into the questions. And if you just like one of these questions, you think, hey, that was a real takeaway, it's going to help me, let Scott and I know. What did you learn just now? And what can we add to this learning? Because I really want to make sure, as we go through this interview with Scott, we still got another 30 minutes to unpack Scott's unique process for connecting with referral partners and really maximizing those relationships. I want to make sure we get this interview down. Also, I would like to remind everybody that I did a 5-minute quick hit with Jeremy Forcier, where he went through his 5 questions that he asked every single realtor. So if you've not listened to that little 5-minute rant, as we're kind of, I would say right now we're all auditing our needs analysis when we meet with a referral partner so that we can just know them and we can crush it with value. So please pile on to this. And Scott, I'll let you continue. And keep the questions coming in, guys.
Yeah, and before I move to the next slide, one of the great things is think about in the business that we're in, if we are truly committed to helping our clients, we may have clients that we're working with a mortgage, or maybe we've helped them in the past and they're calling us back, and we're getting the question of, hey, Scott, I need a great CPA. I'm selling a business. Whatever may come up. I'm in a transaction. I'm looking for, someone to help me set up a trust. I'm at that point in my life. I want to be sure my wife and my kids are taken care of. And as we go out and meet with these financial professionals and we learn about their areas of expertise, we learn about what their ideal client is, it allows us to bring those people into our practice. And when the question comes up of, hey, I need to do a trust, I've never had one, Scott, do you know anyone or have relations with people? I want to be able to say, gosh, here is someone, they're great, they have an impeccable reputation, here's their area of expertise, you're going to be a perfect fit for them, and you're able to hand them off. And again, these are people that we're bringing into our practice, to our business, to help us have a better business and to provide more resources and a higher level of expertise to our clients. So it's just a great resource, I believe, that we start creating as we go and have these relationships. So let's talk about some other stuff here. We talked a little bit about us, right? And so I believe when we're out there, one of the things that I love, and I want you to think about this. This is. I was sharing this with a husband and wife team yesterday that own a real estate company. How many of us watch the Olympics, and it's figure skating or whatever event it is, and it's cool to watch the event, and we're inspired by someone winning a gold, but how many of us are inspired by the backstory? And so when they segue away from figure skating, and it talks about the young girl, and maybe she had polio and, never really could walk, and then finally at age 10 or 11, and she finds skating, it becomes her passion, and it transforms her life, and now she's winning a gold medal. It's the backstory that we always love. And so what I want you to think about in your practice is I believe we want to share how we're making a difference. Now, we can't share people's names and facts and figures because there's some financial privacy concerns. We don't do that. But I believe what we do is maybe we talk about how we've helped first-time buyers. Maybe we talk about the people that are trying to downsize and right-size and helping baby boomers. And there are ways we can share how we're helping people without disclosing identity or anything specific, but telling the story and showing how we can help people, I believe, is a significant thing that we can do. I think we want to talk about client-focused planning, right? And so what we want to talk about is, think about first-time buyers, and maybe they're putting 3.5% or 5% down. What about sharing strategies around that down payment and the difference between FHA and conventional financing and the cost of mortgage insurance and how that's going to impact home ownership and home affordability? So it's starting to talk about here's how we are helping to make a difference. I believe we want to talk about and share our commitment to educating and empowering people. Again, this talk today is really for people who want to own this. You can't, it's not like, remember the whole, put the thing on your card, referrals for life or, client planning for life, whatever it was. Sometimes people just put that on their card and it didn't really change their practice. So the thing I want you to think about today is what are your unique gifts? What are your abilities? What are your why? And it may not be this, but I want you to be sure that you're conveying your why and how you're helping people. I think the other thing to talk about, remember as we said on the last slide, we asked them what tools are they using to educate and empower and showcase their professional expertise to their clients. I believe it's a chance for us to start talking about how technology is helping us and our clients and what difference it makes in their lives and how it is doing these points that I just addressed above. I believe as we're talking today about Mortgage Coach is the perfect tool and scenario to help educate and empower these clients. It helps them with planning, and we want to move into showcasing that. So now what do? I took this picture, I think last Thursday or Friday, and so this was an actual Realtor presentation that I went on. And so one of the things that I wanted to do, took a picture of the table, and just to say when I'm out meeting with this person, owned a real estate company and a producing broker as well, I wanted to start talking about, as we've already said, their business, their practice, all of those things. But then when we get to this point and we start talking about how we're making a difference in people's lives and how we're using technology, and as Dave said at the start of this call, technology, we live on our devices. It's crazy how much time we spend on these devices. So I think it's a perfect transition to showing them, here's how we do it. Here's how we communicate with where everyone is looking. So this is a restaurant I go to quite a bit, so the manager is a good friend of mine. So I gave Joe the camera. I said, Joe, take a picture of us. And we were actually looking at a sample analysis. I think it was rent versus own or something, and just kind of walking through some different structures and ideas and how things might work. And so I was able right there to have a live mortgage coach presentation and walk them through how that it all works and get them involved. And as opposed to just talking about it, having the devices there. And I always have my iPad and I always have my iPhone at these meetings so I can show them the technology in different formats. And as you can see here, I've drilled down one of the screens. I'm looking at the bold graphics. We're going to go click on the more info buttons. We're going to spend some time looking through this. It is just a cool way to think about doing this. So think about this. When we're
Scott,
out,
real quick, I wanted to jump in. Another thing that I see mortgage coach members doing, obviously I call that having the mortgage coach conversation, whether it's at Starbucks, whether it's at lunch, and just, telling stories and strategies and being able to show it at the same time. Also want to recommend to everybody that you share that link from either your iPad or your iPhone or your Android device to the borrower or the realtor. So literally right then and there, you're sharing the link. If they have not downloaded your app, they'll click and download it. Or if you're just, it's already a realtor and you just want to share a strategy so they have it in their back pocket, you can do that right from the device as you're sitting next to each other. So I just want to make sure everybody out there is you're driving that experience both in the live venue and you're sharing it in that live venue. Go ahead, Scott. Just wanted to get that out there.
The live venue is so cool. And here's a couple best practice things. We talked about sharing some sample reports. The interactive demo, the user experience, get them involved. Slide the iPad or the iPhone over to either. If they don't happen to have theirs, as Dave said, and you send them a link, just go, hey, here's one right here, and have them flip to the screen, push the more info button, hit the back button, go through it and look at all of it. There's if you got the video, when I did mine, if we go back and we look, get back on my screen here. If we go back, we had the video right here. And so if we've got the video, play the video for them. Show them what that looks like. It is really, really cool, I believe, on how we want to do that. Now, remember I said if we go meet at the office of the professional, and we go to learn about their practice, their business, and they showcase their tools, their resources, their why, what's driving them to help clients, okay, I believe one of the things that we want to do, and it is so impactful, and it's far more impactful, I believe, than the initial meeting at a restaurant many times, is I believe you should have a secondary meeting or a follow-up meeting and bring them to the office. And why is coming to the office so impactful? If I go meet someone at a restaurant, I have a realtor lunch today. I'll go meet another realtor at lunch, and we'll have this high-trust interview. That's one thing. But to bring them to the office, to see the office, to meet our team, to sit down at my desk and say, let me show you what that experience looks like for your client. And so then to be able to walk someone through the experience, right, and to say, here's what it looks like. Here's how the conversation's going to go. Here's how we use technology. Spin the screen around, walk through everything. It's very, very impactful for the client, and it's huge. So think about this. When they come into your office, what are some things that we could do to showcase how we're helping people, right? One of the biggest is client focus, their budget and goals, right? And so everyone's going to have their budget, their down payment, their monthly payment that they're comfortable with. And so maybe you talk through how do you help people if someone comes in and says, hey, I can afford and feel comfortable with a $1,500 a month payment, and what does that look like? And we can go, here, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor or financial planner, let's take a look at how we can help them convert that payment back into loan amounts, down payments, sales prices, and look at options. Estimated length of home ownership, I think that is so critical. If someone's here 5 or 6 years, that's different than someone says, this is our last home and we plan on never moving and we're for 20 years. Different sales price ranges, how important is it that when we're meeting with clients and they go, gosh, we're thinking about homes from $150,000 to $250,000, That is a big range. That is significant impact on monthly payment. We can start to illustrate that. Down payment options. One of the biggest ones that we do is around this PMI options. Many people don't know or understand with conventional private mortgage insurance, there are the three different options, right? They can pay up monthly, lender-paid mortgage insurance and things, single pay up front. So we can walk them through what does that look like. We can talk about seller-paid closing cost allowances, different loan terms, how to accelerate the prepayment. Many people want to be done and get their home paid off and achieve that freedom point. Let's show the people that come to our office how we might do that for people. When they're in our office or they're out, the other thing I think that's really impactful and really critical that we want to start working on is I think we want to showcase the mobile experience, because many people may not have an iPad or they may not have it with them, but we all have our mobile device with us. Droid, iPhone, whatever it may be, we live in this mobile environment. So I believe one of the most critical key components and things that we can do is illustrate what does it look like on the mobile device, because that's where they're probably going to receive it. That's where they're probably going to view it, and it's critical to spend some time here. So when we have people come to the office or we're out, like I said, I've got a lunch appointment today, we'll do this. I think we want to take the mobile device and we want to open it up. I always have some sample scenarios. It's funny. I have one, I think the client's called Sam Sample, and we just create sample scenarios that we can go in and play with, rent versus own, whatever it may be. But we want to be able to pull up a sample scenario and go, hey, let's take a look. What does it look like on mobile? Because the graphics, I believe, on the mobile device are phenomenal. And so to talk about some best practices that we use here, I believe mobile, as we said, we've got to spend lots and lots and lots of time there. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I was mentioning this today before the call, and this big fancy word, I'm not a big fancy word guy, but I heard this the other day, and it's propinquity. And propinquity was shared on a blog, and what they were talking about was the power of video. And I don't remember the research or the analysis or the paper that was done the other day, but it was pretty interesting. You can Google it on the internet and find it, and it says 1 minute of video equals 1.8 million words. And so what does propinquity have to do with the mortgage coach experience and with this borrower interaction or referral partner interaction? I believe if we understand propinquity talks about psychological proximity or closeness. And so think about what is being created when we do the videos. That is such, when Dave added that, and I remember it's been on there for some time, we've used it forever, and it's such a powerful tool because they get to see our words, our expressions. We can go into a deeper explanation. They get to see us. And think about with this propinquity, psychological proximity or closeness, think about your weatherman or your newscaster in your local community. You may have seen them on the news for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you're out at a restaurant, you're out at an event, and up walks the weatherman. By chance, you're going to turn to him and say, oh my gosh, you're going to think you know him. And that's propinquity. It's this psychological proximity or closeness that's created. So I would encourage all of you, I would hope as part of the best practice is that you're doing the video. The big takeaway, because I've done these videos for Mortgage Coach forever, keep them short. I believe what you should do is what I do in my practice is I write a really detailed email, and the video is just a little short. And, guide them, and I think Josh Metalher did this the other day, guide them to the top screen and say, be sure you check on the More Info button, drill down on payments, drill down on closing costs. All of the things we want to illustrate. Do it in about 2 minutes. I think that's about max length. That's huge. The pinch zoom feature on the mobile is super powerful. Someone may look at it on their device, and depending on the age of their mobile device, how big their screen is, you want to show people that pinch zoom. That was another really cool feature that Mortgage Coach added. Showcasing the graphics, again, super, super powerful. We've talked about More Info buttons. And then here's where we really have fun with this. And so where we have fun with this is if they're in my office and my desktop is running and I have some furniture, and we're looking at an edge total cost analysis or rent versus own or whatever it may be, and I'm in that device, when I open it and when I close it, it's going to send a viewing alert back to my PC, and that ding's going to go off, and they'll be like, oh, what's that? And they'll be like, oh, cool. Here's how we get notified that people are actually viewing this. And so that's another cool feature. Anytime we get the viewing notification, we go into the client's record, and we make a note that they viewed it on such and such a time. But that's another cool feature I think that we can showcase with people is how cool that technology is. So here's a couple closing thoughts, and I know Dave wanted some time to cover some other stuff, so I want to be sure I'm done and honor his time. Here's a couple things to think about. Mortgage Coach, the training and resources, again, this isn't a commercial for Mortgage Coach. I've just known Dave and his team. They're phenomenal. Be sure you're drilling down and accessing those resources. Don't let the technology or not knowing how to do something stop you. Everything you need is out there on their website. One of the things I think you should really work on is practice creating sample scenarios. Hugely powerful so that you get comfortable. So if someone's in your office, you can do a live real-time scenario while they're sitting in front of you. Just get really comfortable with that. I believe we want to rehearse sharing in the live format, so clicking on screens and having the screen maybe turned away from you so the client or the referral partner can see it. Spend some time saying, hey, Mr. CPA or financial planner, be sure you can click through it effectively and smoothly. I'm not a big fan of scripts. I think scripts don't work. I want to share from the heart. I want to be in the moment, impacting the client, and I want to be talking about here's how we're using the technology. And then lastly, as I've said throughout this whole thing, let's use this technology and let's use our practice and the why in our business to revolve around let's educate, let's empower, and let's make a difference in these clients' lives. I promise you it will transform your practice. So Dave, hopefully I'm done plenty of time for your stuff. Would you like to go from here?
Well, first of all, you're not done, man. We're just getting started, wrapping a bow around this. First of all, Scott, thank you for the time that you took to prepare and all of the ideas, the scripts. I know you don't like the word scripts. Lots of loan officers do. And, what I always tell people is, if it's a script, listen to it to the point that you understand it. But to your point, Scott, it's got to come from the heart. It's got to be your words. It's got to be your belief systems that is driving that strategy. Until you really make it your own, it's just a hollow word. So, I loved how actionable you made it. I'm going to debrief on this towards the end. You taught me a new word today, so I love that. There's another word called verisimilitude. I don't know if you know what that word means. It's a word I don't use very often, but I think about it a lot, and it really comes down to believability. So the combination of being able to communicate with people in a way that they believe you, they trust you, verisimilitude, and how do we say
propinquity.
Propinquity. Mm-hmm. But the concept of just people feeling close, connected to you, close and kinship. So powerful words. So how do we up our game and really be able to do better than what we're doing today? And here's the deal. Wherever you're at from a production level right now, what you're doing today got you there. So, and if you do want to go beyond where you're at today, you do need to change something. Just doing what you're doing today is going to get more of that tomorrow. This is a quote that Coach Bill Hart from Building Champions posted on Facebook. I think it was on Friday, and I just love this quote. I took it, put it on my personal page. I put it on our Mortgage Coach page, but this is a pretty bold statement. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who can't read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So there's a lot of things that if you want to up your game, you need to unlearn some things. You need to learn some new things. So everybody on this call, we have one thing in common, which we want to do better than delivering price. We want to deliver advice, but getting to that point it requires you to relearn. It requires you to stop doing something that you're currently doing and relearn. So, Scott, I love the tactical advice that you gave folks that they need to be able to move the mobile device and tell a story, have a conversation, share a strategy, and it just takes practice. Scott, how many times do you think you have shared a mortgage strategy on a Mortgage Coach mobile device? Just, a guess.
Hundreds and hundreds of times. I do it every meeting I'm at. Like I'm headed to lunch, I will go with my iPad and my iPhone, and I will be going through this in approximately 45 minutes from now.
And when you think back of the first 3 to 10 times that you did it, was it uncomfortable?
It was heck yeah, it was uncomfortable because it was new and different, and new and different can cause us to be uncomfortable. But I just, it's like any app for your phone. And as we said, we live on these devices, so I think we're become more comfortable just because it's where we live and play with apps all day long. So just play with it. Pinch, zoom, and click on different stuff, more info, create a scenario, send it to your personal email. just go through it enough that you become truly comfortable in this environment and sharing and showcasing it.
So folks, homework assignment for everybody, move your mobile device. Just walking through, most mortgage coach report are sent via email. But remember, from the app, you can email it or you can text it. And again, the magic part of the app is that when a borrower clicks on that, they're getting the total cost analysis. They're getting that information. If you're in person with them, make sure you have the personal experience. Make sure you put a video or an audio. Scott, what portion of your mortgage coach experience have an audio or video narration?
A large portion. Sometimes I am guilty if I get crazy busy. Because I write a detailed email overview that goes with it, sometimes I haven't done them. I don't do it every time. I know that when I do it, it's far more impactful.
Beautiful. So make sure you're putting audios and videos. Make sure that you're CCing the realtor or the financial planner. And again, make sure that you have the borrowers, not just permission, that they see what you're doing and they perceive it as value. If it's a TBD and they haven't determined their exact loan amount, exact purchase price. I interviewed someone recently, and I asked them how often. Well, actually, it wasn't last week. It was Hunter. I interviewed Hunter, and I'm like, what percentage of your clients, when they're at pre-qual, do the terms of the loan change between the time that they buy the home? And he's like, everybody. No one gets a pre-qual, and then it doesn't change. Usually it changes multiple times. So, again, if you're delivering mortgage coach TBDs, it's efficient. Realtors love it. Home buyers love it. And it's mobile and video. So again, I just can't emphasize enough. Make sure that you're looping in the realtor. I'm not going to ask that survey question right now because I know it's not going to be as high as I want it, but I know it's probably going to be about 60 to 70% of you are doing that. Everybody, do that. And if you're not CCing your referral partner and you have some very specific reason that you're not doing that, please put that in the Q&A. I want to know where you're coming from and why you are not CCing the realtor or the financial planner more often. Why are you not doing that? Want to do a reminder, and Hunter brought up the same point that while he is very, he's creating a high impact presentation, he's driving a PowerPoint, he's starting to drive Mortgage Coach, but yeah, he's bringing them back to his office. So Scott, interesting that you had the same sales process as our top producer last week, Hunter. So,
yep.
So think about what is your sales process with your referral partners, both Hunter and Scott. And I'm not here to say this it's a must. I'm just here to interview great people and hear what they're doing. And what they're doing is they're talking strategies. They're having very structured conversations at the point of sale with partners, and then they're bringing them back into their office, and they are driving mobile experiences and having mobile conversations. So just make sure you're doing that. Also, Scott, I don't know if you're doing this strategy, but where you're forwarding links to Mortgage Coach strategies to your realtors so that realtors can have a Mortgage Coach mobile experience at open houses. Is that something you're doing by any chance, Scott?
The realtors sometimes will ask us to prepare the Mortgage Coach to showcase sample financing options for an open house. We do that. And so they have something there that they can show potential home buyers. So, yeah, we've done that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so folks, make sure you're driving that, a modern mobile experience. I thought with Scott and some of the questions that he has and the way he rolls, he would really appreciate this. This is a realtor, a top realtor in Indianapolis that I interviewed a few weeks ago. And so again, top realtor, and his biggest advice to loan officers is give me what I want to receive, not what you want to give me. And I think that aligns really well with Scott's message today. Make sure you're giving the realtors what they want. And what they don't want is price. They do want advice, and they want a loan officer that can execute on delivering advice. So here at Mortgage Coach, as Scott said, we're dedicated to training. This is our Facebook page. I put a few scripts in over the past couple of days that I thought would be useful and valuable. Again, to Scott's point, make them yours. I also put a link to the video that I think is valuable. And I want to remind you guys, every week on Monday, we post who the guest is. So not only should you be getting an email kind of newsletter telling you who all our guests are throughout the week, we also post that on our Facebook page. So this coming next Tuesday, I've got two guests. I've got Dan Keller, and then I have millennial leader Kristen who was in the Crispin report this last week, she's also going to be the guest. So she's going to be talking about how to sell to millennials for the first 20 to 30 minutes. And then Dan Keller is really going to be breaking down the Ultimate Mortgage Coach Open House. And I'll have two great guests next week. So, Scott, as we get close to wrapping this up, can't tell you how grateful I am to have you on this call. As always, you put a lot of prep into delivering value. Any last thoughts as we start to wrap up today's call?
You know, I think the biggest thing I believe with all of this, and I alluded to this earlier, it's the idea of you've got to take the technology or whatever system or structure or program you're going to add into your business, and you've got to make it your own. It's not simply adding the app will transform your business or get you more appointments or business. It's making it your own so that you truly understand it, how to utilize it, and how it can make a difference in your clients' lives. So my advice to anyone is however you're going to run or build your business, just be sure that the things that you're adding into it, that you have the commitment to work on mastering those systems in a way that they truly do add value and make a difference.
Love it, folks. So give us a quick vote. Let us know what you think. If you are a guest on this call and you want to get a demo of Mortgage Coach or learn more, click the bottom option. But on a scale of good to wow, let us know what you thought of today's call. So as we close out the call, I just want to drive these reminders because I think it was good leadership on your part, Scott. Everybody, make sure you're driving that mobile experience. Make sure that you are creating videos. Make sure that you're driving people through the Mortgage Coach conversation. I love the concept of practice. I usually, when I'm having the Mortgage Coach conversation, there's anywhere from 3 to 5 clicks. It's, typically I'm not getting into too much detail, but I'm walking them through the stories, sharing the difference between rent versus own, showing FHA versus conventional, showing monthly PMI versus different types of MI options. Whatever the strategies that are most common in your market, rehearse those. Again, Scott says no scripts, but you do need to have structured conversations, and you need to be clear and confident around what your value proposition is, what your why is, and what your stories are. So get clear on those. Scott, thanks again for all the prep. Thanks for all the value, brother. And I look forward to our next time sharing together.
Honor and a privilege to be here with my peers. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, man.
All right. Bye-bye.